dominant pick, and I wonder whether they'll end up pairing this with another one of these supports that can pressure out. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that is amazing. By the way, when Shaco was locked in, Djoko looked over to the caster desk and had a gigantic grin on his face.
I'm getting wiggly on this one, Trevor, because the one team in Europe that has played Unicorns, that has played Shaco is the Unicorns of Love, and they paired it with a Thresh, because you would split push on Shaco all the way back in the 2015 spring playoffs. They were upsetting teams like H2K with these oddball picks. Now Vitality want to do it against the Unicorns. Watch out if that Thresh gets locked in phase 2 for Vitality. May very well get banned out, because there are still 3 Unicorns that were in that lineup on stage.
Not necessarily disappear quite as much as we were anticipating or expecting, but for Samux, this kind of suits his playstyle, right? Strong lane, wave clear.
Are they really?
I don't know. I mean, remember, Vitality, they're locked in 4th, right? They're coming back in summer. Vitality are unlocked. We have Shaco and Twisted Fates.
Okay, that's the other side. You don't need to disengage mid laner because your top laner is Gragas. That was what I was overlooking. They do. Oh, wow. Vitality are going full try and carry on the side lanes and somehow kill or defend mid lane. I don't really know how the Camille ties into it. We'll have to look at what Hachani's doing later on. Obviously, that ultimatum will help out. Now the Unicorns, what are they going to tie it all together with? Top lane is the likely pickup here.
Oh, man. Okay, so we're expecting Xerxes to take that North Rumble into the jungle, hence the Shen and the Renekton being banned out. As we mentioned, nope, we pivoted. It's a Hecarim. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is April Fool's Day, and we have Shaco, Camille, Twisted Fate, Hecarim, all in the same game. Now, I am expecting Cabo and Hachani to swap here. However, they could just pull another fast one and put Gragas support.
There's always a couple of games a split where these top laners like Gragas have been seen in support. Teams try Maokai support every now and again. The theory is there that the kit is good enough on its own, like the Camille, to be able to just play that out. And now Camille...
And Vitality here to play spoiler. They are unlocked and unleashed.
Oh, this is a fun one. The irony of having Shaco up against the Unicorns. Djoko is egging the crowd on at this point. I mean, okay, so Shaco, seen a lot in solo queue. The reason Shaco does very well in solo queue is because nobody really plays around his ability to sneak into lanes and set up boxes, and then once you get 1 or 2 kills, you end up just snowballing the entire game because people don't know how to play against it. It's a lot like Evelyn for that factor. Whereas when the Unicorns played it all the way back in Season 5, the 2015 season, what they were doing with it was saying it was an incredibly good late-game split pusher because so few champions could actually deal with the amount of damage that was being output. That was a very different meta, but Unicorns, they don't really have a front line, so anybody stuck in a 1v1 duel with Djoko, if he gets late into this game, could get killed quite quickly, and that is not a position that they want to be in. But this is the start for Shaco. You box down on the camp. Just get that first camp, you can easily move to the next set of jungle, and you can see already 2 wards out on the bottom side from the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, and of course taking a step above the just the damage potential that Djoko can put down, the mobility. With that Deceive, with the Jack in the box, all the tools available to Djoko to get in and out safely. Very, very clever play if Vitality can make it work, because, stress, the thing that matters a lot here is Vitality's ability to communicate and coordinate the side lane pressure, right? Of course, we were wearing Tibbers onesies, which are exceptionally warm in the middle of spring in Berlin, so we have to drop those right now. Those are going to turn into swimming pools.
Are you giving the game away?
I am indeed. I am indeed.
You've never seen somebody wearing like a vest and a tie come out of a onesie. I wish that we actually caught that on camera, but nevertheless. Just in case we wanted to do a quick change act.
It wasn't particularly elegant, so I'm glad that it wasn't, actually. But take a look at this. Already some shenanigans from Djoko up in the top lane. He's hopped over the wall with that Deceive. Gonna come in right behind VIT Djoko.
Here we go.
Possibility for first blood. Literally like every solo queue game ever. VIT Djoko's flashed already. Red buff and Ignite is ticking away. One more hit. First blood to Shaco.
Well, we said that Shaco can be played in different ways, but if the Rumble's pushing up that heavily that early on, well, you're gonna get punished because Shaco just comes right over the wall. Ignite on the jungler is the other thing that a lot of top laners in competitive won't be used to. you suddenly get top lane, get the first blood. That's normally what ends the game, and the top laner rage quits. So I don't think Chachi is going to quite be on that mentality.
Well, luckily for Unicorns, it landed in Djoko's hands. He's already jumped into the mid lane, thrown out a little bit of pressure onto Exile. I'm quickly going to look at the summoner spells. One exhaust on the side of Hylissang. I think that's valuable against the burst damage from Nukeduck's TF later in the game, as well as Camille. And of course, then it's Ignite barriers across the rest. Exile trading heavily here with Nukeduck.
Yeah, that's one problem that Vitality will end up having to deal with, is the fact that they've got no exhaust for this LeBlanc. The reason they're carrying Ignite is because Hachani's going to look for a body slam flash all-in a little bit later on in this laning phase. If they manage to find the opportunity, you hit it with the Ignite. Lucian dashes in, double tap passive as many times as you possibly can, and suddenly you already get that kill out of the laning phase. So Vitality are looking very aggressive in this early game. Looking forward to seeing where they can actually carry that on. Now Djoko comes bot lane. Can he get onto Samox?
Indeed, there's the body slam.
That was
flash. it. Hachani finds a target, but there's support from Xerxes. He's looking to rampage down Djoko. Picks up one with the Q, and Unicorns are on the board.
That's more like the Shacos in solo queue, unfortunately. Very fragile early on, and once you queue forward, queue in, there's no flash to get you out. And Djoko, yes, they got the connection between the flash body slam and everything that came through, but Vitality didn't have enough survivability in that situation, and Djoko ends up dying, drops over the buffs down, I believe. Xerxes now does have them, yes.
Yeah, refresh the red buff at the very least.
Blue buff had expired by that point.
And Xerxes on basically the team's spirit animal in some ways, as far as League of Legends is concerned. I don't really think it's actually comparable, a Unicorn and a Centaur, but...
If he was playing Arcade Hecarim, that would be a little bit closer.
A little closer, yeah, actually it would.
So here's the body slam flash. Unfortunately, that is a Malzahar. So you tried going aggressive when that shield was up. May very well have gone in Vitality's favor. Didn't catch that the first time as we were looking at the path for Djoko into the lane, but Malzahar is clearly a good pick into this type of play from bottom lane. You just absorb that first hit. And suddenly, Vitality, from what was looking like a great start to the game, now have to answer some questions in the bottom lane.
Yeah, they do, and a few questions elsewhere, of course. Djoko's Shaco, currently very far behind in CS, jungle creeps, but because he picked up first blood, is even on gold with Xerxes. It is Shaco, right? It's a hard A.
I say Shaco, but you know, people go back and forth on that. But Xerxes got that inflated CS from doing Raptors and Krogs, and he's just like running around off the small creeps. Now, Ward did just die, so Djoko spotted in the top lane. This is where you can kind of start to track the Shaco a little bit. He's not snowballing so heavily that he's appearing before you get wards out. That's one of the problems that Unicorns of Love have already overcome by getting that first kill.
Yeah, going to work in favor of UOL, especially because both Hecarim as well as Shaco really want to get going in the early stages. Talking about getting going, Hachani's making his way around the map. Let's look at Hachani and Hylissang. One particular aspect of the game is something that we talk about in terms of isolated deaths. How many times do these respective players get killed by the enemy with no support from their teammates? You know, no one within range. And you can see the number of deaths. Now, Hachani, kind of famous for this. Going on those hero plays, you can see him this time around maybe taking a safer route to play some vision in UOL's jungle. But Hilly, no stranger to giving up these deaths, especially during the middle few weeks of the splits.
Yeah, that was the rough few weeks that Unicorns of Love had, especially in the early game, struggling against some of the better teams where Hylissang, sometimes he takes these risky paths to ward, and better teams have started to actually figure that out and catch him out. And once that happens, Unicorns of Love end up falling a little further behind. So I'm interested to see whether Hylissang is going to be able to do that in this game, whether Hachani and this Shaco will have enough control over the jungle, just the fear of Hylissang running into somebody, that he doesn't go out aggressively on his own and end up getting killed. But it has been a problem for the Unicorns.
Yeah, it really has. And it was Hachani coming back after that small stint with AOD that maybe helped Vitality move towards a direction. You know, you don't know the value of someone on your team until you lose them in certain circumstances, and Hachani brought some leadership to the Vitality squad.
Yeah, he really did. And it was a surprising amount as well, because especially after how poorly it went the first time around with Hachani dying so much, I think a lot of people were surprised, but it sounded like a lot of the problems internally with the team, whether it was in-game or out-of-game stuff with Hachani, seemed to be rectified.
Oh, red card! Who's going to win the trade? Back and forth Ignite, but the minions are helping out.
Djoko's here.
Exile's going to look for a distortion over the wall. Not available. And Djoko picks it up. Even with a red card, Nukeduck got away with that one.
Yeah, Nukeduck didn't quite get the card, but has the rock, paper, scissors win on barrier into Ignite there. Was able to survive through so much damage. And Nukeduck stays alive. Djoko ends up picking up the kill. Exile had nothing he could do, was hoping that cooldown would come up in time, but not to be. Exile pretty much connected with everything to start that off, and Nukeduck got away with it.
He did indeed. We'll see how long he can keep getting away with it. Xerxes power farming like a monster at the moment. Equal CS to respective mid laners, level 7 to Djoko's level 6. Got access to that Onslaught of Shadow, so I'm looking forward to the dive opportunities like Onslaught plus Equalizer.
Plus TF going top without that. Chachi, oh, here's the ultimatum. There's no minions here. Everybody's just coming anyway.
Gold card comes down. Deceive will swap tower aggro. Visit Chachi survives because Vitality, they did not go in together on that one.
Yeah, that wasn't the best orchestrated dive here as they used a lot of ultimates up front. Now they're going to try again.
Oh, Vizichachi decides to stick around this time. Vitality pick up a clean close. They get the kill, but it's at the cost of tower first blood because UOL will secure it down bottom.
Yeah, it will go over to the Unicorns first, but that was the second time that Vitality had tried to go in on Chachi, so a lot was used. Vitality, will they end up getting this tower? Yes, they will, up in the top lane. And it's kind of a difficult spot for Vitality because the minion wave hadn't pushed up. They didn't really want to go first because Cabochard knew he would have to start tanking the turret, then drop tower aggro in order to be able to take the kill without dropping anything. I want to take a moment, though, and look at why the heck are him. Because that's one thing that people might be looking at and say, okay, we had a lot of jungle bans, but why didn't you go for something else? Why wasn't there another pick that you could have gone for? Well, Xerxes wants engage potential, and the only champions he's played other than, like, the Zac that have engaged potential would be something like a Hecarim. Rek'Sai doesn't offer enough in that standing. So now the aim of the game here is when Vitality go to the side lanes, much like Splice tried, they want to go aggressive on either the people out on the side lane or steal back if they can catch him through this Gragas ult.
That's going to be difficult, though. There is a fair amount of tools that Unicorns need to get through, but fortunately, very good range for Equalizer. Pretty good engage potential for Hecarim, and of course, Exile will be looking for the flanks if Unicorns can keep it up. Good setup here for Vision, and it looks like UOL, they've swapped up to that top lane, obviously moved Vizichachi away, and now Unicorn's going to look to take down that top outer turret.
And that's where this Hecarim is like a budget version of what Rengar was doing. A lot of mobility, a lot of engage potential to get on somebody that's out in a side lane. So I don't think it's going to be as strong unless they can continue to snowball off the kills. But honestly, the fact that Xerxes is ahead is a great thing for now.
Yeah, you have to actually look at the gold difference because, yes, jungle creeps mean different things, but Xerxes currently has the highest amount of gold on his entire team. 4,300. That's the same amount as Nukeduck, and we'll expand on that in a moment. Cabochard's going very aggressive. He dodges the ultimate. Samux is caught down in place. Xerxes throws down the Onslaught of Shadows, but Hilly's going to be the next target.
Oh, Chachi's here.
Burns down Vitality. That's a double kill for Djoko. As in the background, Hachani's taken down. It's getting crazy and messy. It's a 2 for 2, and Exile almost gets taken up by Nukeduck.
Oh, does he know he's on a ward here? Nukeduck, no flash, but look at the ultimate timer. Wherever Exile runs, he has to make sure he gets enough distance away. Oh, Djoko gets it anyway.
Yeah, gets it with the Ignite, actually.
That's the second one he's got on Exile, just walking in and igniting.
5, 1, and 1 on Shaco, and they're not done yet. Nukeduck's looking for the gold card, connects onto Vizichachi, but the overheating Flame Spitter does a lot of damage. Djoko's running out of mana. Here comes the hook shot into the tactical sweep, precision protocol, and Cabochard is on the board.
Well, Vitality, they were going aggressive from minute 1 in this game, and it has finally started to pay off. Look, as you said, the lead, 5 and 1 on this Shaco for Djoko. That's surprisingly difficult to say.
Yeah.
But honestly, we'll see whether Djoko can carry this matchup. He's not going for the all-in glass cannon, I'm going to 1v9 this game, Shaco. He's gone for Cinderhulk, looking to go tankier and try and push out on the side lane later. Here they go aggressive. Great dodge on the ultimate, as you said, by Cabochard on that. there's enough damage out of Vitality to keep going throughout this. Chachi normally would be such a fearsome presence to get into this fight. And yes, it does start the fight off well for Vitality. There's the Illuminati boxes set up. Just hold Xerxes a little bit in place for a while. And Djoko, with the tricksy way around the fight, comes back in and ends up getting more kills at the end.
There is literally no way to go super serious in terms of commentary when you have these types of champions, especially when there's a 5-1-2 Shaco. I mean, this is literally what it feels like in solo queue, isn't it?
But this is when the Shaco's on the enemy team. Like, right now, if this is how it feels like, we would be unicorns.
I'm looking at a unicorns-heavy audience here, and this Shaco is the enemy team for the crowd here in Berlin. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
There's one guy dressed as Shaco in the audience that is a Vitality supporter for now.
For now. He's wearing UOL colors, though, so that's problematic. But the one thing I think that is important to note, Stress, even though, yes, Vitality are so far up in kills, they're not smashing in CS, so they're actually even in gold. And I think if you add up the potential teamfight power of Rumble, Hecarim, Varus, theoretically, in those scenarios, I think I prefer UOL's comp.
Oh, right. Yeah, if there's ever like a grouped fight where it's head-on, absolutely Unicorns of Love would be coming off better around that. But they obviously have to deal with the disengage from Hachani. You can see him around this mid lane trying to just play defensively. Now Djoko trying to come up to the side lane again. This is where he's going to spend a lot of time. That was a rough ward from Djoko. Thought he'd get it over the wall.
If we see him do it again, we'll call it a Djoko ward. But if you see it a few times, failed. Although I'm glad you bring up Vision. Yesterday, we were talking on broadcast how the bottom 4 teams in the EU LCS actually ward the most, with Vitality being one of the highest. We'll talk about that in a second. Xerxes the target. He gets locked in. The Hextech ultimatum. The barrel splits up UOL. And finally, Xerxes goes down. Djoko's sitting on the front line with that hallucinate. Is going to get popped along with his own life. And the Illuminati save no one. It's jungler for jungler. Jungler
for jungler. You can see Unicorns of Love weren't quite set up as a team to take that. Chachi's TP wasn't available. He was trying to run down from the top lane. But Vitality's still able to make these proactive plays, and it's a close game between these two. Like, this is quite an enjoyable setup for the beginning of this series. Like, I'm glad to see, again, Vitality, despite the fact that, yes, they're playing some unorthodox picks, they're actually playing them out quite well as they go on to Xerxes. Xerxes not tanky enough to be able to survive through this yet. And then the Boxes actually do a good job of keeping Samux back away from the rest of the fight.
Luckily, Vitality are disengaged. And I think one thing that I missed, Steelback wasn't with the team. All right, so Samux was sitting with all of the action in front of him, hammering away. And Steelback was all the way in the bottom lane. Camo Shard. No ultimate available to him. Only the Triforce. Big minion wave, so I thought maybe he fancies a shot, but not just yet.
There has been a significant change in the demeanor of Vitality this week of play. And it's something that, unfortunately, I don't think is easy to notice unless you're here in the studio. But before the games, they're laughing, joking, 1v1ing, everything's jovial, very happy. Much different to how they normally take the stage. And everything seems to be just on a lighter, more positive note from them. And with it, they're playing with this freedom of, okay, it's Shaco, right? They're playing picks that are unorthodox and against... Maybe if they were trying in the most clean-cut way, might not work so well, but Vitality have been playing very well.
I think it is important to note, though, when you take those... Here's what the capability is, even with an unorthodox comp and champions. How does the team replicate that earlier in a split, right? And that's the real trick, is finding these... impressive/interesting performances, depending on your point of view.
Yeah, and I think they are impressive in the sense that you can clearly see, as you said, when the pressure is off. But unfortunately, you can't just pretend the pressure's off, right? If you're playing for your career in the LCS, especially if you're at the bottom side of the table, you can't just go, okay, today I'm going to play like there's no limits.
Yep, it's true. But I guess... Unlocked Vitality is very entertaining indeed. Steelback takes a gigantic burst of damage as Exile's able to escape with his life. Thanks to that distortion, and Vitality take another tower. It looks like it's going to be evened out. Look, there's still not a gigantic advantage here for Vitality. They're even on towers, they're even on gold. Now, Vitality have an unanswered objective in their first Dragon.
Yeah, there's the Ocean Drake going over. We'll assist them a little on this split push as we go later into the game. I want to take a moment to touch on what Nukeduck's actually built. This is something we started seeing a little while back, where you start with the Rod of Ages on Twisted Fate. The old build where you'd get Lich Bane and you'd auto down turrets, but he wants to be able to survive against Exile, trade some of this health and mana away, and make sure he can sustain through the initial burst, because from that, he knows if everything is on cooldown, he can just end up taking Exile out of the lane.
Yeah, and I think also the amount of burst damage on the rest of the UOL squad as well. You know, Hecarim, Rumble, all very powerful tools here for UOL. We're approaching 20 minutes into the game, and as you can see on the graphic, all right, Hilly, he might be close enough to Xerxes for that to not count as an isolated death. We'll have to double check at the end of the game. But yeah, 114 CS at 15 minutes. That's the highest CS at 15 of the split so far. Djoko even smites away the blue buff.
That one wasn't particularly like Hilly overextending. He was on his side of the rift with the mid tower still up, but Vitality were preparing for this play that is coming. Body Slam Flash and a cask is available if they want to go behind the tower. Obviously that is dangerous, and they're also buying time for Camille in the top lane. LeBlanc Clone comes out just to try and get a little bit of you know, deception going, try and distract Vitality, but Hilly face checks in. It is a little riskier than I first thought. Didn't see the rewards weren't there for Unicorns of Love, but yeah, Hylissang, solo death again, add one to the tally.
Yeah, add one to the tally, unfortunate. But Vitality, they're even with UOL as we're going to 20 minutes, and it's a very unconventional comp. So now, let's see the Djoko Cabo split push, right? I feel like the 1-3-1 with the Lucian Twisted Fate, that's pretty good mid-wave clear, or I suppose you can throw Twisted Fate in a side lane. I mean, there's multiple champions that can play side lane here.
Yeah, the old thing that Twisted Fate used to be very good at was snowballing side lanes. So you'd play him in the mid lane, so you have a lot more of the map to come to, because unlike Shen, obviously he's limited with a maximum radius on his ult, but that's the thing, is Vitality have kind of got 3 split pushes.
Yes.
The other thing they can use is Shaco as, if they use Camille and Twisted Fate on the side lane, is if Shaco's in the jungle and kind of roaming around, catching anybody that moves from lane to lane, that's another option, because he's strong enough that he can take on almost anybody on the map.
Yes, especially with that Cinder Hulk as well as the Titanic Hydra. Going to be playing a lot of favorites into keeping his survivability up in team fights. And it looks like there's a lot of pressure on these mid towers. Both teams want to knock down that last outer turret, but Nukeduck is not backed away from the bottom lane yet. Hourglass and that Rod of Ages, he's going to keep dancing between bottom lane and mid lane. It looks like he's making his way up now.
And that's because his level 2 ult is enough that he can come into the side of a fight. He's not necessarily looking to get in behind. He will end up dying, although does have the Zhonya's, so maybe we'll see the fabled Messiah play come in, just hit Zhonya's right as you arrive. Everybody gets everything thrown at him. There's a couple of ults that could go that way.
They could indeed. Djoko takes some damage from those ethereal chains, and Exile is going to be at least poking down the Vitality frontline, but not a huge amount of damage. I mean, Djoko's over 2,000 HP, and Unicorns continue to commit. There's the Mimic Chains into Nukeduck, holding onto the gold card. Nobody's in range yet. And Unicorns going a little bit more of this 1-4 style. Haven't really responded on the side lane to put pressure back on UOL. And just keep fighting around this outer turret over and over and over.
Yeah, and that's what Unicorns of Love were doing up against Splice, was always trying to find ways to engage when Splice were trying to split push with the cannon. It hasn't quite been so successful this game. Now they want to go aggressive on Cabochard.
All right, Xerxes is going to be the target. Cabo gets bursted down quite low. Exile's forced to run away, and Hachani sets up the kill for Cabo. Exile flashed out the barrel.
And here's the difference between the comp that Vitality are running and the one that Splice had is Vitality. They got the Twisted Fate to get there in time to assist very quickly. Splice did have Tahm Kench, but it was too slow. Now they want to go aggressive under the tower. Hylissang's coming.
All right, Djoko's clone is caught out. Nukeduck will go down to Exile. Not just yet. Hourglass buys some time. Ignite takes down Hilly. Body Slam follows forward, and Exile's dropped by Cabo. The clone of Djoko, once again popping those traps, and that opens up the tower. It's a 3,000 gold lead for Vitality.
And this time the Unicorns struggle to deal with Vitality regrouping in the top side, and this has been a great game so far from what Vitality have wanted to do. A couple of hiccups here and there, but honestly, they've been able to push lanes, get objectives. Finally, Unicorns get that mid tower down for themselves, but look at where Vitality are. They're already on this Baron. They have a lot of damage, but have to be careful. They're not particularly tanky.
No, they're not, and the chain of corruption is spreading. Baron is enlisted to help out the Unicorns of Love. That's a shutdown kill into Djoko and Cabo. They're dropped. There's at least one back for the Vitality team, as Xerxes gets his third of the fight. Now turns his attention to Hachani. Vizichachi's overheating is over. And look at that rampage over and over and over. Devastating charge was lined up as well. Ace for the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, Hachani got blocked going over the wall, and Vitality got a little greedy, and it's going to turn all the way back in favor of the Unicorns. It had been such a good setup out of Vitality, and then they tried to get the Baron for themselves. Not enough health. Unicorns of Love have nobody to stop them getting this Baron, and everything seems to have steadied in favor of the Power Ponies.
Oh my word. All of that build-up and that action, and Vitality just get crushed underneath the hooves of the UOL.
Yeah, Nukduk was low to start this one off. Hits the gold card, but the Zhonya's turns Chachi golden and in place anyway. Cabashot ends up falling. Steelback doesn't have enough damage to do it himself. He was trying desperately to just micro this fight out and got quite close, actually. Maybe if it had a little more time to get damage out, if Hachani had been able to maybe have another body slam if it was available. We're into another fight.
Oh, we are indeed. Dragon was picked up by Vitality, and Hylissang caught again, somewhat out of position. His team simply not there to defend. And Baron is up. Djoko jumps onto Chachi. Why are Unicorns so split up? Samix is locked inside the ultimatum. He may take down Cabo with him. Samix is still the target, survives long enough for the Unicorns to reply. Onslaught of Shadows is available for Xerxes. Can he throw it down onto multiple members? Doesn't even need it. Just manages to trot across the river. Now all of a sudden Chachi's the target. Gold card pops him. Nuktak uses the hourglass to get away from Xerxes' ultimate. We're gonna need another play-by-play because now Unicorns are diving. Hachani gets popped, bopped. Nuktak slaughtered where he stands, and Unicorns get another ace.
Xerxes playing, as you said, the mascot of the team, has got so much damage, takes so little. 8, 2, and 5 on the board. He just walked right into the fight and galloped right over Vitality because that was an impressive amount of damage that ends up coming out. We'll take a moment to let you catch your breath. So as you were asking, where was Samix? Why were they so split up? Well, look at how long Samix actually survives. He gets the redemption through. It's only after the cask, and look, he's still trying to kite it out, still trying to get damage, and then Xerxes charges in. Just annihilates most of Djoko's health bar here, and desperately Vitality try and run, but that's a Hecarim, and that Hecarim is angry. Ghost's about to come up, which gives him a lot of extra movement speed after. Didn't need it for the first time. Nice Zhonya's from Nukduk to be able to stay in place, but unfortunately doesn't have enough damage because he's gone Rod of Ages Zhonya's. He cannot output damage in response to the Unicorns, and the Unicorns continue to take the lead.
Look at the damage in that last team fight. I mean, Xerxes as well as Exile just cleaning up. Unicorns still have Baron buff enabled. They're now in a 4,000 gold lead after being in a 3,000 gold deficit just before the Baron was secured. All of a sudden, Unicorns use the Equalizer as a zoning tool, and they're going to open up Vitality's base. Exile's found Nuktak. Hourglass not available to him, and that means Nuktak is down. Unicorns are stacked up. The ultimatum on Samix on the back end, and Cabo's trying to take him down. He's got no damage support. Support staff for Vitality shaking their heads as Unicorns break open the base and take the in-hit.
Unicorns able to kite around the fight. Samix. So much pressure coming from Vitality and Unicorns of Love. It's been a crazy game, the most Unicorns game, but it wasn't from the Unicorns. Vitality throw a curveball. Unicorns catch it with ease and turn the game around.
Unicorns are going to support the TF, and they say, you think that chaos will falter us? They were born and bred, and Unicorns crush Vitality in game 1 of this best of 3.
That was a fun game. And a lot of people say, hey, Vitality were great in the early game and were leading for most of it, and I absolutely